Welcome back, everyone. So today is the first lesson of HTML and CSS. So HTML and CSS is the fundamental skills or technologies for web development. So as you can see, it says web development. You may turn off your mic and then we'll have a very quiet environment. Yep, thank you so much. Yes, as I told you, my name is Asabina and programming teacher. What are we talking about today? What are the development tools? And how does the web works? What's web development in general? Maybe. And we talk about also front-end and backend. What's the code editor? Basic command lines. Then we will come to the specific topic, HTML and CSS. Yeah? Okay, what are the tools you need? As you can see, these lists are tools or kind of technologies you need to have to be a web developer. Do you have a computer? Of course, everybody has a computer by now. If you don't have, you can't attend or follow this course, or you can't get connected with the Zoom, yeah? Of course, internet, and I believe everybody has the internet, so you have to get connected to the internet to reach to other world, yeah, to get connection. Browser, my favorite browser is, as you can see, this circle ball-like logo. It's Google Chrome. It could be Firefox or Brave or other, but I am really in favor of this. So most of the time I use this. When I am using this, it's better to use the same thing, and there will not be much difference, you know. Sometimes you may try exactly the way I tried until you become so familiar, okay? Then for you guys, the designers, do you know this? What is this? The logo, what this logo is for? No one knows? It's Figma.
Actually, I don't know that one.
It's a Figma. Figma is nowadays a web-based designing tool. You can design any prototype, you can design logos, you can design anything. So as a web developer, you should have the design. A designer should give you the design. If the design is only in your mind, in your head, then I think it really takes long time to finish your project, because in your mind, you change things just instantly. So the process will be never ending and you will never get done. So try to, you don't have to use the software to make the design. You can use pen and pencil also, okay? And have a very rough sketch of what you want to build and then stick into that. If you're just proud of what you have in the head and if you start coding, then that is never ending process, and don't do that. Yeah, just put some on a piece of paper, write something, some ugly drawing, it doesn't really matter, but you just follow. Then the HTML and the CSS can make it beautiful for you, but you should have such kind of roadmap. We call it wireframe, yeah? The design, if you really make the design look ready, then it has some colors, even prototypes, the feeling of the application, the product. So this Figma allows you to do almost anything. It's a very good platform, so you may also try it. Adobe XD also is the same as Figma. Code editor. So the code editor is actually, you have to write your code somewhere. So there are different code editors. For this, I chose VS Code, and VS Code was developed by Microsoft. It's an open source. You can download it for free. You don't pay for it, so it allows you to write code. Yeah, it's just like Microsoft Word or Notepad or just anything to write text, but in this case, code. It's easy for us because it has different extension that allows us to be more productive. It has colorings, different colorings for different syntax. Now, it's not only VS Code, there's Atom, Sublime, Bracket, and other more code editors. As I told you, VS Code is my favorite. I love it. And even I just miss it if I don't open VS Code. So it's really good one. So simple, so easy to use. And I suggest VS Code. And today we will install VS Code together. And then Git. Have you ever heard of Git? No? Okay, Git, as you can see, version control software. What does that mean, version control? Maybe from the context, what does that version control means? Maybe I can tell you, whenever you write application or some letter or something, sometimes you just have the kind of a final thing, but it's not really final. So you wanted to resave it and you want to work on the copy of the previous you have, right? So you will have version 1, version 2 of your application cover. It could be a cover letter or an application or anything. Yeah, because if you just work on the original, then maybe you will not have the original at some point. So you have a backup of maybe cover letter 1, cover letter 2, cover letter 3. Then if the final is very good, you send it to the person who is intended to get that cover letter or whatsoever. Yeah, you do this on Word, right? Microsoft Word. Everybody does this. You work on something. If you are, you don't like to change what you have currently. Instead, you put a backup, you copy, and you work on that. But when it comes to software production, copying the whole code is a very long process. We have this Git. So this Git actually allow us to create different version 1, version 2, version 3. And even if we don't like the version we have currently, we can get back in time and recover the version we have at some point. So it's a kind of a system, a software that allows you to switch between different versions. It's almost the same as opening the different files you created while you are writing the application later, the cover later, yeah? Hey, backup 1 or cover letter 1. How was it? Then you check. If you like the final version, you send the final version. If you don't come up with a good one, maybe you just keep the original, the one you write at the very beginning. Yeah. So that is version control. So it really allows you it really allows you to feel free and safe because you have different versions. If you make some change, you don't worry about the change you make because there's already a backup all the time. Yeah. So it makes you more even creative. You keep changing. Yeah. Because if you are afraid of changing, you can't be creative, right? Can you? No. Because you feel that you miss, if you change something, you lose something, right? That frustration doesn't allow you to make a change. But when it comes to GitHub, you can commit and you keep it and you keep changing your mind and adding features. And that is actually help you to be more creative because whatever you change can be retrieved, can be recovered at any point in time. Something you made at noon when you were about to go for lunch, or whatever time, you just go and recover it. It's beautiful, right? Yes. How does the web work? Yeah, so who can explain to me this cycle of there's a couple of rows, there's a guy who looks like me. No, no hair. I don't have hairs. I don't have like glasses too. Anyway, but anyway, who can explain to me this drawing over there? Maybe you don't have to explain to me the whole, but I may ask you, what is this? I need interactivity. If people do not interact with me, I just get stuck and I feel I'm just alone here. What is this?
He works on internet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's the workflow. Workflow.
Yes, but specifically, let's break every point. You know, understanding the whole thing might be too much, but let's just break. Then maybe what is this? What do you see here? Browsers.
Browsers.
Yes, different browsers, because I told you that my favorite browser is Chrome. Someone's favorite could be a Firefox or Opera or a Microsoft Edge or Safari or something other. There are hundreds of browsers, yeah? So browsers is actually a way to access data, like the internet, the data to display website. So a website has to be rendered using a browser. But what's happening here? So this guy has to use these browsers. Where? He is using a computer. And this computer has to be connected to the internet. And what is this here?
Some sort of server.
Yes, it's a server. It's a server, but what's the server exactly? What does that server is? Actually, most of the time people talk about a client and a server, because this is really, some people say it quite often, but they do not know exactly what it means.
It transmits the information.
Yeah.
It stores and transmits the information.
Yes. By itself, it's a computer. Okay, by itself, it's just another computer configured to store data, and at the same time, it transfer data to public. It's configured to do that. So whenever there is a request, so of course this has to be also connected to the internet. This client, for instance, my website is here on this server. This person request means now accessing the website domain name or the website URL. When we try to, whenever we try to search that, we are actually sending a request to the server, and the server right away releases the data stored there. So we have here a computer, but this computer is actually a server, a computer that's configured to be a server. And it used this HTTP protocol to communicate with a client. So you don't have to understand this HTTP, but it's a protocol. What's a protocol? So it has a set rule, a rule that allow to communicate with the client. For instance, if I ask you this group, hey guys, I am your teacher, I speak English, from today on I speak in English and I teach HTML and CSS. All of a sudden, if I start speaking French, no, that was not the rule, right? The protocol, I didn't keep the protocol. if all of a sudden, if I start teaching Python, no. So protocol means there is a communication protocol between the server and the client. And that protocol, we call it HTTP, what was this? Hyper transmission, I forgot even this. Who can remind me? Isa, what was what was HTTP?
Hyper transmission transfer.
I think it's hypertext transmission protocol.
Okay.
Yes, hypertext transmission protocol. So there is all the time we send a request from the client. As you can see, it comes to the internet and reaches to the server, and the server usually reply with a response, and then the web page is accessed. This is some kind of, you don't have to understand this today, everything, but this concept will really help you to see the big picture. Yeah. Yeah, whenever you sit in front of the computer and when you are trying to access something, what are you doing? Requesting. You are requesting. Okay, then where is your request going?
Go to the HTTP?
Yeah, to the server.
To the server, yeah.
Using the HTTP protocol. Yes, yes. And what does the server provide? The information you request. It doesn't give you something you didn't request. It provides you what you request. So your request goes to the server using the HTTP protocol. You may consider the HTTP protocol that the train that takes you from Espoo to Helsinki and from Helsinki to Espoo. Okay, it's a way to go, and yeah, we have to make an analogy. Yeah, so it's a means of transportation. It's a means to transmission from A to B, from the client that is from Espoo. If we have a resource in Helsinki, we grab the resource and take it back to Espoo, but it's a different way anyway. Yeah, so whenever we talk about server, there is a resource to bring to display. So what are the terminologies we learned here? We have browsers to display or render website, and it allows us to do requests. The request goes all the way to the server. The server give us a response. The response is actually a website, or it could be just an image. If it's an image also, it's actually in a website form. So it's a website. I think that's enough. Do you have any question here? Great. Then what's web development? We understood how the web works, and now we are about to develop the web itself. And what's web development? What's a web developer? As you can see from this text, it's a process of designing a website or building or maintaining a website, which ranges a simple single-page application to complex full-stack applications. Now, for instance, if you have like a one-page website, it's a website. So it's if it's just a the countries, I showed you the countries data. It's a website. The other website I showed you also, it was a website. Yeah, so it could be very simple static website, or it could be a dynamic website, or it could be a very complicated website, a full stack website like in Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Those websites are complicated. Why? Because it has lots of things happening there. Maybe at the very beginning, they may not have that much complexity, but now definitely it's complex because they use quite lots of things. They have front-end technology, back-end technology, and lots of machine learning also happening in the back-end. Yeah, so how Facebook knows the person that most probably a friend, you know, it gives you a friend suggestion, right? Because they have some algorithms that help them identify some person might be your good friend or yeah, a friend that you may know at some point. So it just pop up, oh, maybe this person could be your friend. So front end, so let's categorize these two into, so the web development actually it has two, a front end and a back end. So let's just actually see this word. It has something, a front. What's a front? Something you see, right? Something you see is the front thing. Something in the back you can't see. So front-end development, whenever we develop a website, the part that the users interact, the users touch, the users see, we call it front-end. Yeah. Anything you can click, anything you can see, anything you can touch is the front-end part. Okay, then what's the back-end? Tell me the back-end, maybe.
Is backend the thing that when you do something, it has a code that does an action? I don't know how to explain.
Yes, and the backend is actually, so someone is answering backend, the coding part. No, it's not the coding part. The front end is also the coding part. Okay, and there's coding involved in the front end, but every website may not have a backend, may not have. Behind the scene, yes, Naomi said it, behind the scene, something is happening behind the scene. For instance, whenever you are about to sign up, the fields you gave are actually the front-end part, but the part that saves your information is the back-end part. Yeah? First name, username, password, confirm password, sign up. You did. Boom. Your account has been created. And now again, go to the sign-in page. Email, password. You have been identified. That means your information has been stored, right? You gave your data and it has been stored. And now, using the information you provide, you manage to access the service. You've been doing this, right? Yeah, everybody did this. So your data has been stored. Then the back, there's something you don't see. Do you think someone is sitting there next to you and no, it's not. Yeah, so it's just the system stored your data, and based on the data, you got access to use the resource. That's the backend part. Yep. The one you see at the front is the front end. Is it clear now? Okay, so I don't stop by saying this. I want to give you a very good example. So let's go to a restaurant to eat some food, okay? If you go to the restaurant to eat some food, maybe you can see just some chairs to sit and some table, and you choose the table and you sit to the table. Someone come to you. A waitress come to you actually and ask you, what do you want? And you order what you want to eat. And the waitress go to the cooks to the kitchen and tell them that you need maybe some food. Based on your request, should tell them they prepare it and should bring the food to you. Do you see now some kind of front end, some kind of request, some kind of response, some kind of backend? Okay, now which part is the front end?
Front end is when the customer
Yes.
asks about something.
Yes.
So ask for some dish orders, and then back end everything that's happening in the kitchen.
Yes.
And then what a customer gets back, it's probably also front end, or I don't know. But
yeah, what the customer gets is actually a backend. It's the response part. You order something, your request has been actually traveled through the waitress. Now the waitress is actually acting like HTTP protocol. She took your request all the way to the cooks, right?
yeah.
The cooks has to prepare based on your request, your requirement, and then should bring back as in a response a very delicious food to the table. Did you do any connection? Did you make to connect the dots now, guys? So you have the table and you together in the seating place. That's the front end part. Somehow the waitress is a kind of the HTTP protocol that takes data here and there, actually communication. And the guys who are working, you never know how they do. They are going crazy. No one is looking at them, and those are actually the back end. Yeah, not exactly like that, but it's somehow like that. For you, it's a very good way to remember this concept. And when we start coding practically, you will understand that. In this course, we don't do that coding because we don't learn. Even I didn't give a backend course in Omnia so far, but this is the concept. Once in a while, in some topic, we may need to talk about it, but not that. But this is very important, and that's the big picture of front end, back end, request, response, and also the HTTP protocol that allows to communicate between the client and the server. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes.
So remember that one day you went to a restaurant and you sat into their rooms and ordered the waitress to some food, and you should talk to the cooks, and the cooks prepare the food, the requested food, and in short time she brought the food you ordered. Not the food you didn't order, the food you ordered. That's also, you request some website and the server give you that website based on your request. Then let's talk about front-end web developments, and you and I together for the next 7-8 weeks, we learn a front-end part. Yes, we don't talk to the cook. Yes. So we just want to show something to the people we love. So we develop something that can be visible to people. That's the front end part. And to develop the front end part, we need at least HTML. Yeah, you can build a website using only HTML, but it will be very boring without CSS. It will be very, very boring. It will not have color, it will not have different font types, but it's just a presentation, it's just a text. So we can say HTML is actually a kind of a blocking, a building block of a website. Like, for instance, when you start building a construction, you have to have all the columns, right, and the foundations, yeah, using some methods. And then when you have everything, then you start painting it and making it look good. And that allows us the CSS part. The structure can be built only using HTML. So this is the structural part, and CSS is actually the styling and beautifying. Yeah. Or even some, do you know how some people even, this is like for us in a human being, this you may consider a human without the flesh and blood. So that means just the skeleton of a human body. Then when you add actually, then the flesh and the blood just make us look a human. We can identify that. So it's something like that. So it's just the skeleton, the structural part. It's exactly the same as the analogy I give you. It's really like to the point. So you will not get wrong by associating that. And this JavaScript I have seen in one of also, I have seen in one example, someone make it like a person after dressed up and look beautiful and dancing, like moving different, yeah. So that is the role of JavaScript. It go nuts after that. After you do JavaScript, it go just, lots of things happening. That means you give life to your website. You are giving life, or you can just develop a game or whatever. It's possible to do using JavaScript. Okay, what are the backend web developments or the backend technologies? Okay, as you can see, I just listed down some of the technologies of backend. It could be Node or PHP or Python or Java or Ruby. And these are actually the programming language. There should be a database that can go with this. It could be SQL or MongoDB or MariaDB, CouchDB, all different databases. You don't have to remember them, not necessary. At some point, you will be just there. Yeah. Now, what does a web developer do? Yeah, that's a very simple question to ask. Now you know a front-end developer just build a website, maintain a website, but the complexity of a website varies. Is it just a single page, a static website, or is it a very dynamic website that has both backend and front-end? Yeah, so at the end of the day, you might be front-end developer or back-end developer or full stack developer. Full stack means if you know both together, you are a full stack developer. So for you, it may take a couple of years to be a full stack developer, okay? So the full stack means you know almost everything. Some people expect quite a lot from a full stack developer, yeah? So you are the king and you are a ruler of the world if you are a full stack developer. So it's like this planet doesn't rotate without you. Yeah, it's a kind of that. No, not actually, it rotates. It keeps rotating if you are here or not. Anyway, that's just a joke. But it's, you can do almost anything. This is actually what is a server-side development. It's the backend, client-side development, the front end. So this database actually works together with the server side. And this content management service, like the WordPress and all those, they have the backend somewhere, and it gives you actually a chance to interact from the interface, and you can create websites, and most of the time content management systems, they have both backend and front end. Yeah, you don't have to have all the knowledges. By just interacting with the interface, you can build things. That's why I told you that it's better to test how does it feel using WordPress, Wix, or those Weebly or something. I have seen them. Even now, Webflow also something which comes like recently, the last couple of, and it's really becoming very popular. Webflow. I have never tried it, but I have tried at least WordPress and Wix. Wix is also very powerful. But of course, at the end of the day, I want you to be a developer, a proper developer, not like a WordPress ninja. And it doesn't do much, just WordPress by itself, okay? Then basic command lines. So have you ever seen this, the black screen? Yeah, so before the computer, I mean, at the very beginning, programmers used to use only this part, like the command lines. There was not much of this graphical interface. And so actually sometimes you can achieve quite a lot of things using the command line instead of clicking left and right and something. So it's really good to know some basic command lines. Yeah. There are things which we can't do using a graphical user interface. So there are technologies and tools. Okay, this is not something you should remember. They're just logos of HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript, TypeScript, progressive web app, React, whatsoever. So this part is the front end part, and there's GitHub, and this is the back end. You don't have to really just, I put them here for a decoration. I love logos of technologies. Okay, so you don't have to read. I think this is the end, but I was expecting, yeah. Welcome to HTML and CSS. This is yeah, I think I can stop the recording here.